and welcome to the Golden Hour in the Manifest to Live Life Golden podcast and YouTube show. I'm Golden Duffy, your host, and today we're talking about changing your story. So our stories are very enmeshed in our lives. They're very immersed in the fabric of our being because we lived them, because we've experienced them, because they're part of what makes us who we are today. And that's the good part about a story. The good part is that we take our life experiences and we allow it to make us more. What trips us up with the storytelling and the story of who we are is when we allow the past and the stories of our traumas and things that happened to us that were less than optimal to become our present day vibration we actually create from our past story. When we tell that story over and over and over again, we have a hard time vibrating with anything different. Because if we tell the same story over and over again, we're activating that story again. And we love to tell these stories, right? We love to tell these stories of our adversity, of our triumph over that adversity. And that's good because using that story that you have of working through challenge and becoming victorious actually serves many people on your path, right? I always say we use the wisdom of our stories to help other people. A lot of times what we go through becomes our wisdom. It becomes our intelligence. It becomes our being able to speak to something, being able to be compassionate for someone that's going through something similar. So those are all really good things. The part that is really messing up your vibration, or not even messing up your vibration, but continuing a vibration of a cycle that you no longer want to live, are the stories you're telling. Now, these stories could be about other people. These stories could be about your financial condition. These stories could be about, an ended relationship. These stories could be about your physical health. Stories are always words that we put to a vibration, right? They're vibration that we put words to, right? It's experiences that we put words to that activate a feeling, activate a vibration, activate this wave behind me. They conduct the wave. So if we're telling a story, this is kind of interesting because I do tell a lot of stories. You guys do know that. And I do talk about my past a lot. If we are telling a story, and I do that for the benefit of others, and if you're doing it for the benefit of others, it just depends on how you feel when you're doing it. So if it activates a bunch of yuckiness, if you're feeling not good after you talk about it, if you're feeling angry after you talk about it, then you know that you're still activating from it. Clean my camera there. Oh, much clearer. If you're telling the story in a way that it actually helps you to heal, or you just don't really feel anything towards it and you feel more excitement to help the other person and share and resonate and connect, then that's fantastic. But if you're feeling it, if you're activating it, if you're living from that vibration of it, then it's really hard to work past it. It's really hard to vibrate differently when you have that static vibration going on. And that's how a vibration becomes static. Everything is energy and everything is always moving. But if we're moving in the same direction and we're talking about the same thing and we're using the same words and we're having the same feelings, that's when we create cycles, right? Insanity, that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So what we want to do is we want to, first of all, heal from these vibrations. So we want to heal from our past. We want to wrap stories around our past that allow us to let it go. We want to wrap stories we want to create new stories around our past that actually cut the ties with the vibrations, the feelings, and the energy activation around them. So how do we do this? I'm going to give you the roadmap to healing those stories, to healing from those stories, and to actually creating new stories. So a long time ago, I was actually I was meeting with a therapist every week, and she was a licensed marriage therapist, but she also did energy work. She was a shaman. She was amazing. The thing about therapy that I sometimes think trips us up and creates the same story over and over again is when you have a therapist who is interested in pulling all of this stuff from you, but isn't at the vibrational set point to be able to get you to move past it, to get you to help you to heal from it, right? So if the therapist is just sitting there activating, talking about your problems, getting you to feel them again, right? We have to feel to heal. I get that part of it. But if you go there consistently week after week after week and you're feeling the same, you're feeling heavy, you're feeling sometimes therapy, and this is not, I'm not bagging on therapy. I've had, actually this one experience was a really good experience, but I have had therapists who did this with me and activated a whole bunch of trauma and and then I got stuck in it. So if you find yourself going back to therapy and talking about the same things time after time after time, then you're probably not moving forward. You're still activating from that vibration. And sometimes it feels good because it feels good to feel supported, right? It feels good to be justified. It feels good. We can get addicted to that dramatic justification and that feeling like we matter. Somebody's listening to me, so it feels good. You know, at the front of it, we're venting, right? Like venting can feel really good. And I get that. Sometimes we just need to vent. But for the most part, anytime even that you're venting, especially if you do it over and over and over again about the same thing, anytime that you're venting, you're including that vibration and you're going to be activating from it. So you may notice the cycles in your life are not changing. You don't feel like you're changing. You don't see the outside world changing around you. Your relationships are still activating the same stories. So if you want to move past it, this is what we do. Okay. So you have to look at the story. And this happened to me, like 20 years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago. And I was seeing this woman. She was a shaman, energy healer, amazing, incredible woman, really, really changed, really impacted my life. And she was, going over my story with me and what she wanted me to do. And this was my story of, my estrangement from my biological family, the fights that we had, the disagreements that we had, the abandonment that I felt, all of that stuff. And what she wanted me to do was to go back and to write a new story. So you go back, you look at that experience. And of course, she was helping me with higher perspective. So if you need higher perspective, you may need somebody to instill that and to help you with that. Find an uplifting person, find an uplifting professional, find somebody, an energy healer, somebody who can give you good perspective, somebody who is above the situation, away from the situation, that can see it in a whole different light. So by looking at, and you can ask for this as well, right? You can sit down, you can get quiet, and you can ask for a new perspective, and a new perspective will be shown to you by your non-physical guides and the non-physical realm. So I sat down and I started to think about the gifts. She wanted me to think about, what did I actually gain from this experience? What did I actually gain from growing up in this biological family that I had felt, that I had experienced a lot of trauma with? So I went back through and I wrote the gifts, and I realized that through that massive amount of powerlessness that I felt, through being bullied, through being abused, through all of the things that I was experiencing, I was finding my power. I was finding what wasn't okay with me. I was finding out what I wouldn't tolerate anymore. I was finding out who I wanted to be. Because in the face of those outside of us that are living an experience that is, less than our values, less than our morals, less than who we want to be, we will gain massive clarification on who we do want to be. So a lot of what you have walked through, a lot of what you have experienced has given you the wherewithal, the information, the intelligence, the wisdom, the knowledge to step out of that and to become someone new, someone who you actually really resonate and really believe in and really want to be. That is, if you don't get stuck, right? You don't get stuck in being this person. You don't get stuck in victimhood. I could have very easily, and I'm trying to think back, I am sure I spent years in victimhood. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. And then, finding this information, law of attraction, getting really deep in my spirituality, really deep in the journey of our spirituality and why we're here and why our parents are our parents, and what their role plays in our life and how that functions for us, right? Like how choosing a certain family, right, to pop down into and be part of their experience, how that serves us. And there always is something that serves us, even if you have been through horrendous, traumatic, terrible things, which I definitely have. Even if you have been through those things showed you something. They created a desire within you to create something new in your life. And they've given you more capacity for love if you chose that, right? They could give you a capacity to do the opposite. They could give you a capacity to not trust people. They can give you a capacity to not love people. They can give you a capacity to not love yourself, right? To not believe that you are worthy of great love. So it's all in how we function with this, navigate this, and look at it, that perspective, that higher perspective. So going back to that story and saying, okay, where are the gifts? What do I know? And how am I equipped today to handle life, right? How am I equipped to handle life? How am I equipped to handle being a parent? Well, I'll tell you, parenting our children, both my husband and I, growing up in households that weren't completely optimal, right? My husband moved out of his family's home when he was 15 years old. Both of us had really extreme and intense conditions that kind of drove us to each other. I definitely think that, and drove us into an independent lifestyle very young. I was off on my own at 17. He was off on his own at 15. And we ended up having a very young family and creating that biological, beautiful, loving family in our own family, on the heels of and letting go of all of that trauma. Now, did we have things with our kids? Absolutely. Did we have to work through things? Did we have to spiritually evolve as parents, as people, as, using the stories of our past to fuel us? Absolutely. So you can do this. You can absolutely do this. But if you're going to walk through life and continue the same story over and over and over again, you're going to keep experiencing the same thing, the same types of people, the same types of relationships. When we're talking about people, it's so easy to complain, and I get it. I so get it, because everybody's not doing what we think they should be doing, right? Everybody's doesn't know what we know. Everybody doesn't navigate the way we navigate. Everybody doesn't love the same. Everybody doesn't have the capacity to love the same, right? Everybody doesn't give as much. Everybody isn't as generous, all of that stuff. So it's easy to look out at the outside world or those people, especially like your children, if they're not, living up to what you had wanted for them. It's always, always failed expectations that create anger and frustration in a relationship. We expect people to be different. Oftentimes we expect them to be better than they are. We expect them to be like we are. And that's where we get disappointed. And so this is about telling a story of that person by looking at them through the eyes of the divine energy, right? Through the eyes of whatever you like to call that, through the eyes of a higher perspective, through the eyes of who they truly are. Because if you have a child who's struggling right now, or a spouse who's struggling, or a friend who's struggling, they're in that energy field and that low vibration for a reason, just like you were when you had that past story that wasn't optimal. Yes, we're in a lower vibrational field when these things are created. And, to say, like, when you were 2 or 3, did you create that lower vibrational field? I believe that this is all part of our understanding and lessons to learn here. I don't necessarily think that as a 2-year-old, you decided that you were going to create a low vibration. I don't believe that. I just believe that our stories very much are significant and here to support us in the growth and expansion that we are interested in living, that we are interested in stepping into. So as the story unfolds and you start thinking about your relationships, really get in touch with and really get honest with yourself about what story you're telling about that person. Number one is, are you using that person as an excuse to take yourself out of the game, right? Take yourself out of feeling good, take yourself out of being in high vibration. We do this very unconsciously mostly. But when you start to get honest with yourself, that's when you flip the switch. That's when you start to bring things into your conscious awareness. When you say, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to be honest with myself. What have I been sending to this person? What is the story that I tell other people about this person? What is the story I tell myself about this person? If you have a spouse that's not like, you're not like go team, and you're feeling this separation and you feel like maybe your spouse goes around and talks crap about you and then you go around and talk crap about your spouse, there's no love and compassion there that's going to get fueled. There's no foundation of that there. So you have to get back to that. You have to get back to why you fell in love with this person. You have to get back to the goodness that you see, that you can still see in them. There's always goodness that you can see. And if there's not goodness and there's no joy, then what are you doing together? Right? What are you getting from each other? Are you getting something that drives drama that you're addicted to? Are you getting something that's just like, you're just settling? You have to get honest with yourself if you want things to change. So when it comes to your kids, what's the story you're telling about them? Maybe they didn't choose to go to college. Maybe they haven't found their way yet. Maybe they are with a partner that you didn't really care for. We had that for a little while, and now this person will be in our life forever. And it's the love that you feel for someone in a family situation when you know that they're going to be there for the long stay is very powerful. Instead of sending them something other than love, instead of sending them what you think they should be doing or what you wish they were or how you wish they would do better. It's very powerful to love them and to seek the goodness in them and to shift your reality and your perception of reality to the point where you can see them in a whole new light and you can be grateful for them. That actually brings you to gratitude when you start to do that. So if it's a friend, or another kind of family member, a parent or something like that, it's looking at them very objectively, right? Looking at them as the soul being that they are, because we're all stardust. We're all a bunch of souls here. We're all figuring it out, right? We're all doing the best that we can with what we know. That's why you should also forgive yourself. I'll get into that self part in a second. So we're all doing the best we can with what we know. And we're also all doing, this is a little deep. I'm going to try to explain this because this is really, really interesting. We're all doing what other people are also attracting from us. So sometimes I will behave in a relationship where it's not normal. It's not like my normal tendency. And what I realized, I had a download about this a few years ago, like when I don't get back to somebody, like when they message me and I don't get back to them, that comes from them. And that's not excusing behavior. This is not to excuse behavior, but this is to acknowledge that if somebody messages you and several times you go to message them back, it is a very intense desire and intention for me to make sure that everyone always feels like they matter. So I am really good about answering, maybe a little too good about answering certain people, right? But if someone's messaging me and I go to do it and something stops me every time, then I know it's on their end, right? They've got abandonment issues or they've got unworthiness issues or they feel like, there's a block there. There's a block there. So understand that all of your actions don't necessarily come from your own, your own, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say inertia, but I don't think it's inertia. When your movement, sometimes it's not from your movement, it's from what they're doing that's going to create maybe something that you don't feel inspired to do. It won't block you necessarily, but it won't like drive you to the point of inspiration to do it. So that's a little deeper of a conversation. And it's really interesting because we're all co-creators. We're all creating this together. And it's not just us. We're not the only factor in what's going on between our relationships. It takes two, right? It takes two vibrations. And the beauty of that is that when we vibrate super high and we send a lot of love to someone and we change the signal, maybe we've had a signal that we've been sending to them that is not optimal, right? Like, let's say this is one of your coworkers. We'll go with like a more of a surface relationship, not a super deep relationship, but somebody that you have to deal with on a daily basis. That person, when you're riding high, if you're looking at that person, right, like maybe they make your job difficult, or maybe they don't really work, maybe they're a little bit lazy, maybe they do things behind your back, whatever it is, whatever you're experiencing, looking at that more objectively and from a higher perspective and refusing, this is where it gets good. When you refuse to send crappy energy back to someone, right? When you refuse to mirror that alignment to them, but you raise your vibration higher and you send new information, you send new love, you send new signals, you send new ideas and perspectives about this person, right? You got your positive aspects about this person like dialed in. And instead of your tendency to talk crap about them, you're deciding to look for the best in them. You're deciding that to find compassion for them, right? Like what they are going through in life, whatever they're walking through in life, instead of looking at them through the lens of they're a crappy person, you look through the lens for what you want to see. Maybe they didn't, and they're going to show you. They're going to show you. You're going to vibrate with them differently because you're not in the same frequency of what you believed about them before or what you've said about them before. Also, a very important thing about gossip, I have shared this before. When you talk shade on people, when talk smack and you spread rumors or you just talk yucky energy about someone, that energy goes out into the universe and energy is felt. So you may think that you're being all fakey to this person and they're giving you attitude. The reason why is because they feel your energy. So you don't even have to say a word and they will feel how you're feeling. Isn't that crazy? It's absolutely true. There is a book called I think it's Personal Power of Awareness from Sanaya Roman. It's so good. And she talks about how energy is felt. Every single energy you put out there is felt. Not only felt, but carried with you. So when you're carrying that energy, you're going to create it in your life as well. So then people are going to be talking smack on you as well. So if you want to end the gossip train and you want to end people doing things behind your back and talking about you behind your back, you got to stop doing it yourself. And I know it's hard because it's fun to talk about people, right? I'm a lady, I'm a girl. I know. I spill the tea, people, right? I get it. I totally get it. But I've really slimmed down on talking really negative stuff about people. Really do as much as I possibly can. And I caught myself yesterday doing it with a family member. And I realized like the story I'm telling about this family member is not going to give them the opportunity to change things. They're going to continue to show me the same thing. So I have to tell a new story about them. I have to believe something different. I shared a little bit about this. Actually, I've gone into depth about this in other podcasts, but facing, really traumatic things with your children or a loved one in your life where they're doing risky behaviors and they're really worrying you or really concerning you and you're feeling like very powerless, often that is you're you're overextending your energy into their field. So you're overextending, you're taking in their negative energy and you're keeping it alive. That's what happens when we worry, when we have concern. We literally send that energy to people and then they have a really hard time getting out of it because we're keeping them there by beaming the light of what we're worried about, what's going wrong, what we don't want to happen. So we have to pull away from that. We've got to create some sort of space between us and other people, especially our kids, right? They're so sensitive. They're so subject to what their parents feel about them. And you may not think they do. You may not think they care because they act like they don't care, but they absolutely care. And that indication of your vibrational resonance creates that energy from them. They know that that's the way you feel about them. That actually makes it solidify more in their experience that will be the way they feel about themselves. So when it comes to forgiveness of self, when it comes to the story that you're telling about yourself, much of that story, I want you to sit down and I want you to map this out and figure it out and talk through the current story of yourself and then look at where that story came from. So look at where those assumptions came from. Look at where those beliefs came from. Look at where that acknowledgement, that identification of who you are came from. So if you think you're a crappy artist, I always say crappy artist because I had an art teacher that told me I wasn't good. And I always believed I wasn't good. And I have to tell you guys lately, I've been drawing. I've been drawing with my granddaughter. And that's actually where this started. I started drawing my granddaughter and I just love to sit down and just draw. We'll just have these little drawing contesty kind of things. And she'll tell me to draw something and I'll tell her to draw something. And then we kind of have our own, it's really cool to see how we both express different ideas. Right. So I started to realize, and she's like, God, you're such a good drawer. And I'm like, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. So I'm starting to realize, anything that's creative comes from our divine flow of expression. So if we just open up the field to that, I know a woman, amazing woman who started painting in her 40s and she's incredible. And she never believed she was an artist before. So I'm really actually considering and thinking about art, but I am taking this interior design course. So I know there's going to be opportunities for me to hone these skills and to draw things out and to put on paper what's in my mind. I think that's going to be really cool. So anything like that, any of those beliefs, and where did that belief came from? It came from definitely this art teacher, but also having a low self-esteem and anxiety about drawing. Anxiety will block the flow of wisdom in anything you're trying to do. The belief that you're not a good writer, that you're not a good artist, that you're not good at this, those beliefs are so strong and powerful. And many of them were created from the time you were from 3 to 7. So they're baby belief systems. We'll call them baby belief systems. You created them when you were a baby. And somebody else mostly told you who you were and how you needed to be to operate in this world and to be successful. And many of those are untruths. So I want you to get real with your story. I want you to write down your story and what you really believe about yourself. And then I want you to write down what you are not forgiving yourself for, what you're really mad at yourself for. What past stories are you carrying around with you? And then I want you to take those 2 pieces of paper and I want you to burn them or rip them. Just get rid of them. Just throw them in the garbage, get them out of your life. And I want you to write a new story about the new you. Who's the new you? I know so many people that will say things to me. I'm an extremely disciplined person. I've told you guys this before. When I commit to something, I'm committed. I have strong integrity with my word. I was not always like that. I was not always like that. Looking at that and saying, I'm a person who procrastinates, or I'm a person who never follows through. Listen, at any moment, at any time, you can be a person who follows through by following through. You can be a person who doesn't procrastinate by getting the shit done when you say you're going to do it. You can have integrity to your word by actually being someone who has integrity with their word. My daughter, actually, the other day, my youngest, so she is so interesting, and she's changing and morphing all the time. It's just incredible. And she told me the other day, she said, she has had, no longer has had trouble with messaging and getting back to people. And recently she's taken on this new persona, right? They're just personas. They're personalities that we decide for ourselves. It's something that we just decide for ourselves and then we act from. And as soon as we're aware of something, it's no longer a habit, it's a choice, right? So it's not a tendency, it's a choice once we're really aware of it. So she just decided, I'm going to be this person who has integrity with my word. I'm going to show up for people. When I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to answer messages. So it's really cool because in our family, we have a family text message group, and normally it takes her a week or two to respond to all of the responses. And then we'll just get like 20 responses from her on something that happened 2 weeks ago. So now she's decided that she's going to be a participant. She's going to participate in the messages as they come across. And I'll tell you, as her mom, this is really good news, because trying to communicate with somebody who has trouble communicating or doesn't really get back to you, it can be very frustrating. So this is, maybe this was part of what manifested for me as well. Of course, we're all creating this reality. So if you want to be these people, you can be that person. You can be the person who does the thing, who, if you've got these like little baby regrets going on, or even these big regrets going on. When I told my aunt was one of the biggest people I was really concerned about telling, that we were moving to California, because she is the matriarch of our family. And I was feeling like she was going to be really upset with me for taking, her nephew and her little nieces and across the country. And she said to me, she was really excited for me. And she said, I'm so glad you're going to do that. She goes, I wanted to do that my whole life, and I regret not doing that. And she came out to visit us last year, and she still talks about it. And she absolutely loved it. Like she loves California. It was like everything that she wanted to experience, but she went back because she didn't live here because she had family there. The circumstances wouldn't allow her to. An interesting thing about circumstances not allowing you to do something is often it's a belief, right? Like we keep ourselves in these self-imposed prisons, like, oh, I can't do that until my kids graduate high school. Well, we moved our kids when they were 7th grade and freshmen in high school, right? What? Crazy. And I took that was going to be okay from the experience of when I was younger. My family actually lived in the same town my whole life and moved when I was a junior in high school. Yeah, a junior in high school. Actually, we moved when I was a sophomore, but I was commuting back and forth, which was a no-no from the school. And the principal had a really hard time with that, because he did not approve of certain family members of mine. So he wanted to make my life, not good, by insisting that I couldn't go to school there. So finally, the rubber meets the road, and I have to transfer schools. So I end up going to this new school, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. I made a lot of incredible friends. Because I came in so late to high school, I didn't join any cliques. So I just became friends with everybody. And that really served me, because back in my other school, people knew my family member that caused trouble, and that kind of cast a shadow on me. And I was, put in these certain situations, and I was bullied by these girls. And so like leaving all of that was like a fresh new start. It was like a brand new identity. So I saw that as something that would really serve my kids. So any situation that you're looking to experience can be experienced when you take yourself out of the belief system that it can't happen now, or that it can't happen ever, or that you don't have the tools, or you don't have the money, or you don't have whatever it is that you don't have. You're going to figure it out along the way. Trust me, leaps of faith are incredibly supported. And by creating this leap of faith for myself and my family, we expanded so much as a family, as individuals. We grew so much by moving somewhere that we really desired, or at least I desired. My husband also came on board eventually, and he is absolutely expanding and growing here, and his business is doing incredible. And we have a very happy life here. We really love our adventures and love not staying in a life that wasn't serving us, staying in an area that we felt was not promoting the growth that we were really interested in. And winter, which we are so over winter. Okay. So when it comes to a new story, the story about yourself, decide who you want to be and then be that person. And it's not as hard as you may think it is. It really is not. It's a decision that flips a switch inside of you that makes you move through energy that you believed in the past you couldn't move through. Belief is just a thought you keep thinking. And whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, they're both true. Because when you believe you can do something, this comes from the magic of thinking big. And I don't know the author. My husband was reading this to me the other day. The magic of thinking big. When you decide you can do something, when you decide something's possible, your brain reorients to find ways to do it. Isn't that crazy? And of course, you've got universal partnership, divine energy, divine wisdom. You're drawing from all of that. But you're the one that's activating the energy by believing something else is possible. You're the one that's activating new energy by telling a new story, by deciding something new for yourself, by taking on a new identity. And you can do it at any time in your life. It doesn't matter. I think it's, there's an architect out there and, his name is going to escape me, but, he started creating things like in his 80s, incredibly successful. 70s, 80s. There's so many people like that. So you're never too old. It's never too late unless you believe it is, right? Because your beliefs create. And we don't want to create from those crappy belief systems. We want to create from something that allows. We want to create from something that expands us. We want to create. And I know it can be really challenging to work through fears and the unknown. But if we can gain a new story and a new perspective, and in your new story, I don't want you to say, I'm going to, or I'm going to try this. These are so weak and really low vibrational words. Try is one of the lowest vibrational words because it basically invites in failure. It's like, I'm going to try it if it doesn't work, right? Like it includes that it's not going to work in the equation. I'm going to put things way out into the future. Also, if you're the type of person who tells everyone what you're going to do, you don't have a very strong activation. Although there is that accountability piece that I'm going to, without actually fueling the energy field first, doesn't hold a lot of weight, doesn't hold a lot of power. I've had a lot of people tell me what they're going to do, and then they never do it, right? Also, when you say you're going to do something, it invites other people's resistance into it because they will tell you why it's a bad idea and they will try to talk you out of it. I don't know why people do this, but they do it. All right. So instead, when you're telling the new story, say it in the context of I am. It's way more powerful. I am an incredible artist. I am. And maybe that's too far of a leap. You don't want to go too far, right? I am a progressing artist. I think that's where I'm at. I'm a progressing artist. I am progressing. I am finding new, I'm finding new abilities. I'm finding new skills. I'm inviting in divine energies and all of my non-physical counterparts to create with me, right? Can you imagine if you fueled yourself that way every day and you fueled yourself that way before you did something? I am inviting in, right? I'm inviting in angels. Anytime I lose something, I invite in my angels. Anytime I need help with something, I used to have hair braiding angels. I think I told you guys that. I used to have to braid girls' hair and had to teach myself how to do an upside down braid, which is a Dutch braid, which I never did before. So that was like a little scary. And I had to do it for like 4 or 5 girls at like 6 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, you got to override that mind that's going to tell you you can't figure things out. And I figured it out just by watching a YouTube, calling on my angels, and having the confidence to do it. You don't get confidence by like saying, I'm going to try something. You gain confidence by deciding you can do it. and by putting yourself to the test and figuring it out. I always say there's like a grid. Whenever we're about to learn something new, there's a grid, and the grid will fill in. But if you get all anxious before the grid fills in, then you'll slow the energy down to figuring it out. I get really excited before I'm going to learn something new because I know the grid's going to fill in. And I believe that it does. It does. It moves the energy faster because I'm not in resistance to what I'm learning, right? How many people, or yourself or me, start something new and then they get all freaked out and say, I can't figure this out. I don't know how to do this. And they get all anxious and nervous and worried. And the biggest, probably the biggest feeling there is the feeling of being embarrassed, right? Being wrong, being afraid to be wrong, being afraid that people are going to judge you for not being smart, or right. So it's that feeling of dumb. Like when you rate, this is where it comes from. When you raised your hand in class and you didn't have the right answer and the teacher made a fool of you, or you made a fool of yourself. Yeah, that's where that comes from. So in order to get out of that baby belief system, that baby wound, we have to overcome that by deciding that we are intelligent, that we are smart. Remind yourself of all the things you've done in the past, all the things you've figured out in the past. Remind yourself of a past experience where you now are an expert on something that you didn't know about before, that you didn't understand before. Now you're an expert. It's really good to remind yourself, you guys, really good to remind yourself of these like past things that you have come through, your victories, your challenges, and create that story around them. Like, I did that. I did that. I overcame that. I am amazing. You ever say that? I am amazing. We don't want to be like egotistical, and we don't want to be full of ourselves, right? Like that's what we learned. But some of y'all, you're too hard on yourself. You're just too hard on yourself. And that being hard on yourself is that unforgiving part of yourself that keeps you from becoming that amazing self, right? So write a new story. Write the story as if you're already living it, and write the story that activates the vibration of excitement in you, right? That activates, even if you're not there yet, even if that story is like, I'm a millionaire and I'm excited about having, unlimited wealth. Even if you're not there yet, even if your bank account says very much a different story, you can feel an activation in the idea of abundance. And because you can visualize something, because you can feel something, that means that you have the potential, not even the potential, it's a done deal. It's a done deal. The money's already here. You just got to line up with it. You got to line up with the feelings of that millionaire person with unlimited wealth. You got to line up with those feelings. What does that feel like? What does that person feel like? Well, I'll tell you what, they're not having to fit over their bills. They're not up in the middle of the night thinking about money. They're not constricting and feeling yucky when they spend it. No, they're feeling awesome. They're feeling incredible. They can do whatever they want, right? Say that to yourself several times a day. I can do whatever I want. Say it. Just say it. Feel it. Say it. I can do whatever I want. I am abundant. And the thing about being able to do whatever you want, it doesn't take money to do whatever you want. Abundance is the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it. That's the definition of abundance. So it's not money. So everybody thinks, oh, if I just had all this money. No, not necessarily. It's just manifesting it, right? It's manifesting those opportunities and those experiences into your life by knowing that you are a powerful creator, and that you have the ability to manifest that which you activate within your vibration. Okay, so new story. Maybe it has to do with wealth. Maybe it has to do with your physical body. When it comes to physical body stuff, like if you've had an illness for a long time, or a sickness for a long time, or maybe you had an operation that went wrong, or, something that is not optimal in your health experience, maybe you wake up every day and you have pain, or that is an activation. And I would challenge you to go study Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, these brilliant scientists who have taken researched the brain, researched the body, and take on new belief systems and new truths about your body and how your cells regenerate, and how only 1% of things is genetic, and how there's a whole gene expression thing, and that genes do not create cancer, and all these different mechanisms and belief systems that we have to uncover. We have to obliterate if we want to live true health and wellness, because there's been so much that has been given to us that defies our natural state of well-being. I can tell you what can restore your health: getting your feet on the ground more often, watch the Earthing movie on Netflix, being in nature more, getting off your electronics, getting out of your house, laughing more, right? There was a study, I think, and it was based on a true story. It was Robin Williams did a movie, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was about a woman who cured herself of cancer by watching funny movies, and she would just laugh all day long. And basically what happened is she activated out of the cancer, right? And she activated and flooded her body with all these amazing hormones and reactors that actually healed her body. She also didn't pay attention or focus a lot on the illness. So you got to limit your conversation about it. You've got to limit your needing to fix it, needing to find a solution. And if you are in that trying to find a solution, you're in the problem. So you have to rise above that and just say, I intend for health, and ask for divine guidance on what to do next. Some of y'all need to just let it go for a little bit. You got to stop trying so hard, and you got to let go of this pursuit of trying to fix the problem so that the solution can come to you, especially if you've been experiencing something for a long time. I had, a lot of neck pain for years and years and years. Probably I had a car accident when I was like 16. So that kind of really activated it. And for so long, I saw chiropractors, massage therapists, physical therapists, so many different people. And I was told by a doctor that I had dystonia, which is a genetic condition where my muscles just, they get really, really tense from very little things like collars and shirts or necklaces. So I got really determined, right, to find a solution. For a little while, I let it go. And then I was taking too much medication. So I went to go see this chiropractor. And this chiropractor actually really made me mad. Like, the whole system of this chiropractor just made me angry. I spent 3 hours there. I went back for an hour the next day. And then finally they unleashed this like $11,000 program on me. And I was so angry about it. That anger actually turned things in my favor, because it made me extremely determined to find a solution that worked for me without asking me to spend that kind of money, which in hindsight, I probably have spent that kind of money, but I did it a lot differently. Within 2 weeks, I found a solution that has completely changed my life. I found a physical therapist here in Orange County who works on nerves and has actually helped my entire nervous system to settle down and repositioned my body. So the whole time I was trying to find a solution, I was very much in the problem. And then, believe it or not, the anger pushed me out of the problem, right? The anger made me more determined. So your anger is not always a bad thing. Sometimes anger in action gets things done, but that desire, like we have a very strong desire when we're in anger, that desire called in something brand new for me. And it's definitely radically changed my life. So it's possible, right? But I also, at that moment, believed it was possible. I was like, there absolutely is a solution, because I know how this universe works. I know how universal law works. And I refuse to believe that I was put on this planet to live in pain for my entire experience here. So took it into my own hands. And you can do that as well with any experience. So whatever you're challenged by right now is good news. It's good news, because it means that challenge is causing you to expand and grow. And there's solutions out there that are better than you can even imagine. And it's just going to take a shift, a tiny shift in your perspective, a tiny shift in your attitude, tiny shift in your belief systems to call in something new. So every time something less than optimal happens, if you can be like, oh, goody, some more clay to put my hands in, something else for me to form, something else for me to show myself how powerful I am. And I know when less than optimal things happen, you need your little moments to freak out. We all do it. But once you get past that, once you let that go, right? That's just a tendency as well. We can go, okay, all right, let's go. This is new. Let's create something new from this. I can't wait to see what new is coming. I can't wait. I actually feel this way when things break now. I'm like, okay, something new to want. I don't get too upset when things break because I'm like, clearly our time together had ended, right? Good is always coming if you believe it. If you believe it, good is always coming. All right, I'm just going to plug my books here since we flew through this show today. Good Lord. I get on a thing here and it just flows. All right, so buy me a cup of coffee. Here is your little QR code to support the show. If you're on the podcast, you're going to have to hop over to YouTube to see this. If you want to support the show, you can do a one-time donation. This is just an exchange of energy. So if you've been here for a while and you've been listening for a while and it's really jazzing you, there's a subscription, I think $5, really easy to cancel, really easy. I mean, I know subscriptions kind of bog people down, but this is just a way to energetically support the show to keep it ad-free. You have my journal here. This is not just a journal. I just want you to know there's 100 pages. It's a daily guide. So there's 100 pages of information in here to make your life better, to help you to stay in a high vibration. It's a beautiful hardcover book. This is available on Amazon. You absolutely need the QR code here because I still haven't called Amazon yet to figure this out. I can't find it on Amazon. Well, obviously I found it, but she's a little challenging to find. The Perfect Unfolding. There's the QR code for the journal. This is my latest book. If you haven't read my latest book, The Perfect Unfolding for the Expansion of Your Soul, this is a very spiritual book. So it is the spiritual side of manifesting and some messages that came through my dreams and through animals and through different experiences. It's a good read. It's a good read. I think you will activate something new when you read this. So the QR code for that is there. And then we have my original book, Mindful Manifestation Secrets. This is our story from moving from Connecticut to California and all the amazing miracles that happened along the way. And then it's a guide to how to break down the energy field for yourself so you can create epic things. And then for all my parents out there, we've got Quantum Speak for Parents. I have a little chapter on the elderly, taking care of the elderly. My father-in-law was with me for a couple of months. This is great energetic parenting. It's how to really talk to your kids, really understand and have compassion for your kids, and how to create incredible communication. Our relationships with our kids are phenomenal. They're phenomenal. You can ask them. I'm not lying. Ask every one of my kids. We have a blast together. We are really amazing friends. And I love being a mom of adult children. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot easier. You know, sometimes they have big problems though. They do. But I have detached. Detached is the word when it comes to parenting. Detachment is really important. And I have a chapter in the book about detachment and how to do that. Because if we're hovering, think about this. If we're hovering over people, over problems, over situations, and we're not allowing for the energy to change, you know, we're like, think about it. We're like an umbrella or we're like a shadow, right? We're a shadow over this experience. It doesn't allow the sun to come in. It doesn't allow the solutions to come in. It doesn't allow us to be the powerful creators that we are. So change your story. When you change your story, you change your life. You change your life. Change your story. Tell a new story. It's the best thing you can do for yourself is to decide something new. Decide that, you know, I'm going to put that book away. I'm going to start a new book. I'm going to start a new chapter. I'm going to start a new volume. This is volume 2, volume 3. This is a brand new day. This is a brand new life. This is a brand new opportunity for me to identify with new things, to resonate with new things, to tell myself new things about myself, and to discover that I am amazing. I am amazing. I feel amazing. I'm doing amazing things. I'm ready for amazing experiences in my life. All of the things that create excitement and passion and thrill are there within you. They may be lying dormant. They may be under a bunch of alcohol or different things, but they're there. And you can call upon them by deciding that you want to live that way, that you want to live new, that you want to live and breathe new life into things. It absolutely is up to you. You have a choice. You have a challenge. You're here. You're listening. If you've listened this far, you're in it to win it, baby. And winning attitude will always create a winning atmosphere in your life. All right, guys. I love y'all. Peace out.